It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero. It's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening. Whenever you're watching and whenever you're listening, I hope you're doing okay today. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located on St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simon's for an authentic Italian meal. And today's show is being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Men on the Planet, is available. Hey, Porky, is available where all good books are sold. You can get a copy of this book right now where you're watching or listening to this show. Just visit BarnesandNoble.com or Amazon.com. Find out why I'm so adamant about getting Tom Molyneux's story told. I got to apologize. I had a tooth pulled last week, and I'll tell you something. I'm having a hard time still talking and stuff. Pretty crazy. But anyway, we are going to be talking about some post-fight shows, specifically the World Boxing Super Series in the first World Boxing Super Series final that we got, the first Muhammad Ali trophy awarded. We're also going to talk about the post fights from HBO last night. Munguia has his first world title defense. And I also want to talk about the heavyweight division a little bit. Why I feel these guys should all just shut the F up and fight already. Jeez, I've never heard so much talking going on in one specific division as we've been seeing and hearing from the heavyweight division. I'm also going to talk a little about the streaming and what we can expect. We talked about it a little bit last time we were here. And what it seems to be unfolding and even more maybe regressing. I don't know. We'll talk about that. And then a couple of big fights that I want to preview, at least talk about a little bit that are coming our way next week. And we'll be doing some post-fight shows on those. But first, let's kick this off with the post-fight thoughts from the World Boxing Super Series final last night. Took place in Russia. It was between Oleksandr Usyk going up against Murat Gassiev. And the end result, Usyk put on a boxing show, in my opinion. Beat Gassiev every single round, according to my scorecard. 120 to 108 is the way I scored it. I thought Usyk used his jab, his foot movement, all at the center of the ring, by the way. For everybody that's always telling me, Billy C, the sweet science is you hit and you don't get hit. Yeah, well, it's pretty good to see a big guy like Usyk using his footwork and his hands to keep Gassiev off track and didn't run all around the ring. He kept circling around. Gassiev put on a great show. Joining me right now to get his thoughts is my man, Sal Rocky Senecola. Sal, I thought that Usyk put on a boxing clinic. What was your thoughts?
Yeah, I saw some good highlights of that, and I'll tell you what. Yeah, he was just, as you suggested, he was in the middle of the ring. He was able to slip some punches, block some punches, avoid some of the shots, and he was able to deliver. And yes, that is the sweet science right there. And he just was very authoritative with that jab. And let me tell you something. I think it was a one-sided fight.
You know, the thing that impressed me was he didn't seem to slow down at all. Usyk had to, as far as I was concerned, watching the fight from the first round all the way until the final bell, he seemed that his energy level was there. Gassiev didn't have an answer, you know, as much as Abel Sanchez was telling him. And the one thing I respect about Abel Sanchez is he was telling Gassiev the truth. In the corner, he's going, basically saying, listen, man, you're losing this fight. You're going to have to at least drop him a couple of times. You're going to have to, and then by the last round, he says, listen, you're not going to win this fight unless you knock him out. And assuming that he would go all out, I thought that 12th round was going to be an all-out, just balls to the wall, if you will, lay it all on the line. I mean, he had no other opportunity to win that fight except knocking out Usyk, and Usyk did exactly what he did in the previous 11 rounds, controlled the action with his jab, his footwork. It was a fight that I got to be honest with you, I would have loved to have seen a win by knockout. However, there was no way that anybody could have scored this fight for Gassiev. The way the judges officially scored it, one had it the same way I scored it, a complete shutout, 120 to 108, and the other two had it the same, 119, 109, giving Gassiev the one round. He's now the unified world cruiserweight champion. He has all four of the major belts, or at least, considering, if you want to just, I count. I like to count all. I like to throw the IBO in there, but he's now the WBA, WBC, IBF, and WBO world champion, and he's got the Muhammad Ali trophy, which is awarded to the World Boxing Super Series winners. And after the fight, he called out Tony Bellew, who's actually ranked as a heavyweight. So what's your thoughts as a unified cruiserweight champion? Is this going to help the cruiserweight division, at least here in the States, Sal?
Well, you know, we were talking about that from the get-go of this series, of tournament series. And, you know, because it just seems that the cruiserweight division has just had its trials and tribulations and its lackluster kind of exposure or recognition, I should say. And maybe this should help. I mean, the guy is a great fighter. He's a good champion. He's got all the belts. And let's see the notoriety. Let's see what he can do. But here again, you know, it's so funny. He's a heavyweight. He's a cruiserweight, and yet he might go after Bellew, who's a heavyweight. So you know, it's a funny weight class. It's not funny, but it's just the wicked stepbrother that doesn't get the notoriety and the acknowledgement that I believe they deserve, because it's a great division. It's right in between, of course, light heavyweight and heavyweight, and I think it could be a real beefed up, no pun intended, division full of great talent. But we've got to keep the cameras and good fights coming out of that division.
You know, the funny thing is I look at Tony Bellew as a cruiserweight. His heavyweight fights, specifically against David Haye, which I'm going to get to the heavyweight division a little bit later. But I like the fight. I think Usyk.
I think it's a good fight.
Yeah, I think Usyk. Listen, the sad truth is that here in the States, a lot of fans don't give the cruiserweight division enough recognition. In my opinion, we should, and I love this division, and it's chock full. I mean, Gassiev lost this fight, but he's certainly one of the top guys in the division, so we'll see what happens with that. The other fight I want to talk about post-fight was HBO. Yeah, they're still doing boxing. They finally returned. Wow. It's been a while, but HBO featured newly crowned Jaime Munguia, who had won his WBO junior middleweight title from Saddam Ali. This is his first major payday. Didn't make anything for the Ali fight. Was put in immediately by the WBO with a mandatory title defense against Liam Beefy Smith, who went into this fight with only one loss, and that came at the hands of Saul Canelo Alvarez. And Munguia won the fight. 116, 111, 119, 110, and 119, 108. I personally scored it 118, 109. Everyone, including myself, all in favor of Munguia. Here's what I saw. I saw a 21-year-old kid who's been thrust into the limelight, who has a lot of fan following, that's for sure. And I like this kid. But there's a lot of things that he's got to tighten up. Number one, his defense. His defense is terrible. He has no defense.
His footwork.
He's a plotter. He's young. He relies on his punching power. And he works the body great. I was glad to see that the ref did not deduct the point. A lot of the so-called low blows were right on the belt line. You can't take this kid's fight away from him by calling them low blows and deducting points, whatever. I was glad to see that he didn't abandon the body work. He was just too much, too strong, too big for Smith. But man, Sal, no defense. I mean, as he moves up with the level of opposition, this is going to catch up with him. He can't take the shots he was taking.
No, and he's going to have to tighten it up, as you said, a little bit. His delivery of the body shots, at times when he was executing them, the hands were down, and if he's in with a sharp counter puncher who's fast enough, probably could have got a few shots in. But the bottom line is the guy was relentless. He was conditioned. He has some good pop on his punch. And I'll tell you what, he gave Liam Smith anything and everything he could take. I scored the fight personally, 118 to 110. And I gave a draw in one of those rounds. But I'll tell you what, he had some good pop. I was impressed with him, and I like to see him fight again. I look forward to seeing him fight again. But yes, he's got a lot of work to do. He's got to watch how his legs don't come together in the middle or whatever. He's got to keep his balance. He's got to keep those hands up. He's got to move that head. Yeah, he's got a little work ahead of him. But I'll tell you what, the tools are there. He could become a very special fighter, and I think that's what everybody's going to be hoping for.
He's also, I noticed, I don't know if you did, he had a trouble with the distance. Now, I don't know if we should give Smith the credit for
I think we should a little bit.
Yeah, for keeping him out of range, but he missed a lot of punches that he let go, and they just, got wind. Uppercuts specifically, some right hands that he was throwing and missing. Now, he's not the fastest guy.
No.
The two weaknesses I see, three if you want to throw in perfecting the distance, is clearly no defense, and I think he's a bit slow in terms of his hand speed. But I guess power neutralized. Plus, the kid's only 21. He took a lot of shots.
He's a kid.
Yeah, but that's going to get caught. They're going to catch up to him. I'm telling you, they're going to break him down. I mean, they were kind of comparing him to a George Foreman, and we all saw what happened with George Foreman and Ali. But the thing is that I thought that Munguia didn't seem to run out of gas.
No.
He did slow down. He did seemingly take a couple of rounds off, but he still won those rounds. I don't know. I thought Smith was just in with a stronger guy and was in. He had the right game plan. He just didn't have enough pop. I mean, a guy with 26 wins, 14 coming by knockout, versus Munguia, 30 wins now with 25 by knockout. Obviously, he's a power puncher. The one thing I do want to say, though, Sal, Jim Lampley, they were praising the Nevada State Athletic Commission for not allowing Munguia to fight Triple G. I still disagree with that. I think that his punching power should have gotten him that shot. They were saying, "Oh, we agree that he wasn't good enough to fight Triple G." I'm not saying he could have beaten Triple G. Not saying that at all. But I do disagree with their decision to not let him fight Triple G when they went and let Conor McGregor fight Floyd Mayweather. I mean, how do you let a pro debut fighter fight a 49-0 guy and then not let a 28-0 fighter at the time fight Triple G? I totally disagree with the ass kissing that went on HBO last night.
Cash is king. But I'll tell you what. I had the luxury of, after the Mercado fight and listening to Max Kellerman, and I got to give kudos to Roy Jones. And I'll tell you what, I went to the British announcers and listened to the Liam Smith and Munguia fight over the Brits, and the Brits call it as they see it. They don't put any drama in it. They don't do anything else in it, and I love to listen to them. They're great. They're refreshing. They just talk about the facts. They talk about the event that's happening right in front of their eyes. They're not going off into the drama and what if and how everything else is. I loved it. That's the broadcast I watched.
I agree. With the Usyk Gassiev fight, I saw the British version, the British broadcast, and I love it. I love listening to those guys.
Great. The guys are great.
They
just call it.
You hit it on the head. They call what's happening in front of them. They're not trying to create something and call something that you're not seeing, but say to yourself, "Oh wow, did I miss that?" I don't know.
Exactly.
Anyway, on the HBO undercard
Yes.
in the super featherweight division. Now, these guys were slightly by weight class, Sal. Super featherweight, junior lightweight, however you want to look at it. How big did these guys look? I mean, Alberto Machado, who improved to 20-0.
Machado looked like a monster.
I mean, I kept forgetting that they were junior lightweights. They
look
look
like
pretty
a
big.
welterweight.
They definitely do.
I think they had the pre-weigh-ins. I think there was an 18-pound disparity or something like that, or in some other fight they were calling about. But go ahead, tell that.
No, that was
Liam
Liam Smith had put on 18
Smith,
pounds. But Rafael Mensah tried his best. What a sad story. He had just lost his daughter to malaria.
Yes.
To malaria. I mean, you think of that as an ancient disease, but it still happens frequently in the part of the world he's from. But he was a game fighter. Looked like this fight was never going to get into the 5th or 6th round, but he did go the distance. The way the judges scored it, 120 to 107. All three had it. I didn't score this particular fight, but I thought that Machado dominated. Looked very good. Another thing I noticed that the commentators did mention in this fight, I don't know if you got a chance to really focus on it or not,
Oh,
Sal,
yeah, I did.
But Freddie Roach, you could understand him. They said that he looked healthier and he wouldn't admit that he was on any other kind of medication or anything. He said that they feel that he's the doctors don't even know why, but he looked good and sounded better than I've heard him sound in years. So hats off to Freddie Roach for keeping it up. I don't know. Did you notice that at all or no?
Yeah, I noticed that, and I noticed a lot in that fight, and I was, I'll tell you, I made reference. I used to be a real big fan of Max Kellerman. I liked what he said. I liked how he looked at the fight, but the little bit of banter between he and Roy Jones Jr. What I love about Roy Jones, he'll just set you straight. I mean, he doesn't play the deal. If he disagrees or doesn't follow suit just to kiss butt or whatever, boom, he's gonna set you straight. And that's what was happening when Max Kellerman was almost saying like, well, it could almost be like a mercy call. The referee maybe should maybe stop this fight. It's inevitable. The guy's not gonna win or whatever the heck. And Roy was just like, what are you talking about? This is the game of boxing. These guys know what they're in for. And it can turn around. It can happen. I just enjoyed hearing a refreshing view because, you looked at one side and bam. I like the right cross that Roy Jones Jr. threw back at Max Kellerman.
It's funny. You're right, but he does it within. He's under control.
Yes,
because
control.
I'll tell you why. Guys that lost their job on HBO because they didn't play along was George Foreman and Lennox Lewis, two guys that told it like it was, and they both ended up not working for them. But in any event,
and Roy Jones, I think to his credit, I think he just volleyed the ball over the net or just sparred a little bit lightly, but he got his point across. I loved when he said, Hey Max, this is not any other sport. This is not croquet or whatever the heck. This is boxing. These guys know what they're doing. They're going in the ring, and they got the fighter spirit. These fans come to see a fight, not to see a fight be stopped because he's losing.
Right. All right. I want to talk a little about the heavyweight division real quick, and maybe go back to it. But it's been official. Anthony Joshua, we all knew he is fighting Alexander Povetkin in September and it's pronounced DAZN. DAZN is pronounced DAZN. Okay. Anyway, I don't know if you caught it, Sal, but at the official announcement, they actually had it in New York City, where they were announcing that the Povetkin Joshua fight will be on DAZN. And Jarrell Baby Miller was there. And he started talking smack and got up on the podium, and he and AJ were a little pushing and shoving and everything else. Listen, I am so sick. And listen, all the fighters do it, okay? But I am so sick, specifically, of the heavyweights and all the smack talk that you hear. First of all, I am a guy that does not believe in any stretch of the imagination that Jarrell Big Baby Miller should be in the conversation at all with, and again, I apologize, I had a tooth removed, so my murdering of the English language today is even worse than it normally is. But Miller is a joke that the sanctioning bodies, believe it or not, all of them except the WBC, which I can't believe, but I credit the WBC. They all have him ranked at number 3 in the world. A guy that's in line for a world title shot has yet to fight a real fighter. The last guy I was saying that about was your boy, Deontay Wilder. You know, why he even was allowed there and to stoke the fire a little bit can only mean one thing. They are using Jarrell Miller as a backup plan should Deontay Wilder not take the fight in April like they're all planning. But then Deontay Wilder hasn't shut up either. He keeps talking smack. Now says he will not fight Anthony Joshua unless it's a 50-50 deal. Listen, he still claims that the $15 million guaranteed plus a rematch where they didn't put an outline of money was crackhead money, and he felt that it was a bad deal, felt that he was disrespected, all these things. This is Deontay saying this, and I've had some time to really think about it, Sal, and I say this: what a jerk that Deontay Wilder and his team are for not taking the guaranteed $15 million plus a rematch. What a jerk! He will never get a 50-50 deal. If I were Team Anthony Joshua, you know what my next offer would be? $14 million guaranteed. And every time I send him an offer, I would keep lowering it. And you know why? Because until Deontay Wilder can show he can even make $10 million fighting anyone else, he hasn't a leg to stand on. It's going to be curious to see what he gets paid to fight Dominic Breazeale. And don't be surprised if they offer that on Lou DiBella's new streaming service, which he had the card that was on Foxwoods last night. The main event was McQueen Williams, 11-0, going up against an 8-4-1 Matt Doherty. And yes, boys and girls, you could have watched that if you shelled out $4.95 for DiBella's new streaming service. Listen, all this has done is create a network of greed by all these networks that are going to start charging. If everybody doesn't see that each promoter is aligning themselves with a streaming network, they're eliminating the distributor and they're offering the service directly to the consumer, so more money goes in their pocket. And what happens, Sal? The boxing fan gets screwed again. Think of this. Just with the 3 that are announced, forget about Lou DiBella's, but you got ESPN Plus, that's $5 a month. The Cloud TV, that's I think $10, $9.99 a month. DAZN, $10 a month, right? So you add that, let's just say arguments, $25 a month you're paying extra. And oh, by the way, your regular television package, which includes ESPN, you're paying whatever your distributor. and Showtime and HBO separate per month. They're getting fleeced every single fight. And if you don't decide to buy them all, that means you're going to have to pick a promoter and his or her fighters to watch. Your thoughts, Mr. Senecola?
Well, it is. It's a saturation and frustration here going on, and we're going to have to see with the way, you know, at least when you have a HBO subscription or Showtime, you could expect to view the fight and to have it automatically in your living room, or even pay-per-view. You got it. It's not subject to the promotional outfit. But, you know, we're going to probably be, as you suggested, taking all these different streams with these different promoters to eventually have to watch the fights via the purchase of all these streaming networks and who's representing them. And it's a little frustrating. And like I said, it's just common sense. People will always go along the path of least resistance. And if you start putting obstacles and hurdles and ponds and everything else that they're going to have to go around, it's going to be harder for the people to really seek out or want to have it just dropped in their lap versus just having it dropped in their lap. So, you know, it's gonna be some tepid water. We're gonna have to see how they wade through it.
Listen, the bottom line is the heavyweight division is the division that we all look at, right? As goes the heavyweight division, so goes boxing. We hear it all the time. Why can't these heavyweights just shut up and fight? Well, I just don't get it. Why can't they just shut up and fight? How does a guy like Jarrell Baby Miller get ranked at number 3 by all sanctioning bodies except the WBC with the people that he's fought? Here's a bigger joke right here. Tyson Fury, all right? Now, don't get me wrong. I like Tyson Fury. And nobody was a bigger fan of Tyson Fury than I was. But you know what? I checked. I have the top 10 BoxRec rankings, computer rankings, as of this morning. And Tyson Fury, after a 3-year layoff, and after he beat Sefer Sarifi, all right, who's currently ranked at number 133 in the world by the computer, Tyson Fury is now ranked at number 5. All right, how does he beat Sarifi and catapult after a 3-year layoff to the number 5 position? And it gets even worse because his next scheduled fight, which is taking place August 18th in Belfast, is against a guy, at least a named fighter, Francisco Piata, who's 35 wins, 4 losses, and a draw, 21 coming by knockout. His last 3 fights, he was knocked out by Kevin Johnson. He lost a decision against Peter Millis, and he had a win over a 1-0 guy. So he's 1-2 in his last 3 fights. And guess what? He's ranked at number 140, 7 positions lower than Sarifi. And the computer somehow calculates that Tyson Fury's number 5 in the world, and I'm complaining that the sanctioning bodies have Jarrell Baby Miller, who's fought no one, ranked at number 3. Incidentally, I'll get to this a little later, but Jarrell Baby Miller is ranked at number 6 in the world by the computer. Hey, listen, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we got some more to talk about. We got scheduled to come up is Dax Khan, but I haven't seen him. But we know we're going to get Alex Papali a little bit later. Don't go anywhere. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back.
Billy C will be right back.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money.
It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And before we went to break, I was whining and crying about the heavyweight division, Sal. But I tell you the truth. I mean, have you ever seen such a collective group of heavyweights? And I'm being very careful. I don't want to point just the fingers at any one specific. But they're all a bunch of yappers, man. I mean, listen, the beauty of this sport is you can show off your goods real easy. Just step in the ring. And that's the one thing they don't do. They all really practice hard at your mother sews socks that smell, stuff like that. Your sister wears army boots. I'm just paraphrasing. But, the funny thing is, why can't they just fight?
Well, the bottom line is this. Guess what? You're talking about, and I hate to always have to reflect back, but, different generations, you had promoters pushing their fighters and pushing these guys and talking about what they can do and what they're going to do and who they're going to get in the ring with. Now, to these guys' defense, these promoters, there's no longer the Don Kings, the Bob Arum, the Lou Duvas, this one, that one, that make it, more prominent that you're going to hear some great words about a fighter they believe in or that's in their camp. And so these fighters have to promote themselves. That's why we look at the outrageous things that some of these fighters say, and that's why it draws the attention. Maybe it helps in their politics in the game of sports. Who the heck knows? But you know what? It's better to hear something than nothing. I guess that's their mentality and mindset, and that's a shame because, like I said, a couple of decades ago, it just used to be the promoters that needed to say something and to talk something because the fighters got in the ring. And the fighters fought to get to where they needed to be. And then their actions spoke the volumes of words after the fact, not before.
Give a shout-out to former world champion Matthew Hilton. He's watching us on our Facebook stream right now.
Matthew Hilton?
Yeah, I just told him, drop me an email. We'll have him come on the show sometime. So,
Love that.
Yeah, he was right up your alley, huh?
I remember I fought his brother Davey up with the United States boxing team. We went up there. Bobby Ches and I were on the squad, and we went up to Montreal. We fought in the old Olympic Stadium, and I think Davey Hilton's mother was the judge that night. It's funny.
You know, I almost took a picture of the picture that's here in my office/studio of me and Bobby Ches at the Mohegan Sun. I was covering. He was doing the commentating for Showtime, and I was covering the fight. And I got a shot with him, and we were talking about it last time we did an event, and Bobby was there, and I almost took a picture of it to show you the picture, but and we both look. Bobby and I both look so young, you know. I was like, who are these?
Oh yeah,
kids?
sure you did. Hey.
But anyway, you know, I've never seen such a collective group of heavyweights talk smack, and I will say this. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a big Anthony Joshua fan, because I certainly. You know, I certainly do feel that, you know, he is the best. But you know, I saw him for the first time kind of lose his cool with the Jarrell Baby Miller thing, and he couldn't even focus on the photo ops with he and Alexander Povetkin. I don't know if you got to see the video. There was a video out, and it was put out, and it's easy to find. You can punch it up. But the look on his face, you know, they're trying to pose, and they're doing this unveiling of the zone and all of this stuff, and his eyes keep going over to Jarrell Miller, and finally he turns around and he says, "Shut the F up, shut the F up," and he was going after him, right? Wow. And I tell you something, I don't know. It isn't, and I don't know. But to tell you the truth, that's a guy you don't want to rile up. I mean, Jarrell Miller really, I think he better be careful.
Maybe you do. Maybe that'll throw him off his composure, and maybe that's why Deontay Wilder was saying some of the things he said. He said, wait till I get this guy in the ring and what I'm going to say before the first bell.
Well, you know what? I mean, everything that Deontay said has not bothered Anthony Joshua, but Jarrell Baby Miller was getting under his skin. I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, and you know, you're making a good point. I mean, you know, hypothetically, you know, you're looking at a fighter that has been there and done that to a degree, even though he's got, you know, he doesn't have all that many professional fights that validate his stature. I mean, not to validate, but I mean, you know what I'm saying? It used to be 30, 40, 50 fights. You're a champion. Now, you know, it's 15, 20 in Anthony Joshua's case. And the bottom line is, you know, you don't expect him to get so easily riled up, and for that to happen, you know, maybe there's a maturity thing that he's still growing into mentally and psychologically, and he's learning. But no, that was a surprise because, like I said, it was kind of uncharacteristic to see a response that he gave.
You know, it just.
And you know what?
It just bothers me. It just bothers me that Miller's even in the discussion. Let me give you.
Maybe it bothered him too. That's why.
Let me say this, okay? People can say what they want about Alexander Povetkin, and maybe he doesn't understand English, and maybe he doesn't know what's going on. You know what's happening. But let me just say this: he was a gentleman at this press conference. Not that I really care. I mean, people got it wrong. I don't mind a good smack talker. I just want somebody that's going to talk smack and then at least try to back it up. I can't stand these guys that talk all kinds of smack and then don't even back it up. You know, David Hay was classic. You know, Deontay Wilder, at least he tries. You know, at least he tries to talk it up. He believes in, you know, that he's got power, and he does have power, and, you know, it is what it is. But Povetkin's a legitimate opponent for Anthony Joshua. The way the computer ranks the top 10, Sal, Anthony Joshua number 1, Deontay Wilder number 2. Now, depending upon your opinion, you know, I mean, my opinion, Anthony Joshua is clearly number 1, and Deontay Wilder is clearly number 2. I wouldn't be, I guess I would be lying if I said that if they put Wilder at number 1 and AJ at number 2, I'd be upset. But, I mean, they're clearly the top 2 heavyweights in the division.
I agree. I agree with that. Yeah, I don't disagree with that ranking.
No, and they're clearly the top 2, okay? And number 3 is Povetkin. And I'm not so sure you can argue that when you look at the rest of the rankings. So the top 3 guys, I think, are legitimately placed where they should be. And, you can mix, in my opinion, you can mix and match Wilder and Povetkin. Povetkin has a much better resume than Wilder. Wilder's at least more recent. But number 4, number 5, and number 6, I all question. And I question how the computer can put these guys in there. Number 4, Tony Bellew at number 4. His 2 signature heavyweight fights are against David Haye. David Haye wasn't even in the conversation at heavyweight at this point. Number 5 is Tyson Fury, like I mentioned before. I don't know if he deserves that catapult of a ranking after Sarifi win, after being off for 3 years. I mean, that's the problem. One of the problems I have with the ranking system today is that we're not climbing the ladder anymore, Sal. You're just being put in a position because you won. They don't care who you fought, nothing like that. I looked at the computer rankings to try to weed that BS out. Jarrell Miller, number 6. I don't even believe that. And here's where I think that these guys, 7, 8, 9, 10, should actually be moved up to 4, 5, 6, 7 and drop the Bellew, the Tyson Furies, and the Jarrell Millers down to 8, 9, 10. Luis Ortiz is number 7. Dillian White is number 8. Joseph Parker is number 9. And Dominic Breazeale is number 10. That rounds out the computer rankings for the top 10 heavyweights. Now, in a perfect world, these guys would be fighting each other. Now, Joseph Parker and Dillian White are the only 2 out of this group, aside from Anthony Joshua fighting Povetkin, which was a forced fight. They're the only 2 non-title holders that are fighting each other. AJ fought Joseph Parker and beat him for his title. Povetkin has been the number 1 contender for the WBA. So, I mean, I'm not going to criticize Anthony Joshua. I'm not going to criticize Povetkin. And I certainly can't criticize Dillian White and Joseph Parker. Now, should the anticipated fight between Deontay Wilder and Dominic Breazeale take place, Dominic Breazeale would be a legitimate opponent, in my opinion, for Deontay Wilder. But aside from that, why isn't Jarrell Miller fighting a Kubrat Pulev or a Luis Ortiz or some other relative fighter? I just don't get it.
Bill, and that's the trouble with today's rankings and the system. I mean, like you said, and what I remember growing up with is these guys fought the rings of the ladder, and you would climb every rung, and you would get to the top. You'd be in position to fight for a championship. Here, I could agree with the top 10 that you suggested. I don't agree with the order of the placement, but those are pretty much the most popular 10 heavyweights that we are talking about today. And they should be fighting each other, but I think they're all gunning for the world champion, or what was viewed as the world champion. And I think that they have to have their own elimination fights to see what they could do. The winner should go on. You want to talk about? We should have a heavyweight tournament super series, both for Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua, and let these the other 8 contenders work their way up to fight each of those guys.
The problem with the heavyweights is that because there's so much money that is made in that division, the risk of a fighter losing his position or title shot with a tournament would prevent it from happening. However, what I do think could happen is you could get a lot of young, up-and-coming heavyweights fight in a tournament to weed out the pretenders from a potential real contender. That I could see happening, and that I would definitely like to see happen. But the heavyweight division, there's a lot of talk. There's a lot of, he said, she said, and not too much fighting. Anthony Joshua is in the driver's seat. There's no question about it. Deontay Wilder, in my opinion, made a huge mistake not taking the fight. And he'll make even a bigger mistake if he doesn't take the offer for April. He's not going to get a 50-50 deal, Sal. He's not worth a 50-50 deal. And until he can actually make $10 million on his own, or even $5 or even $8, it's not going to happen. He's not going to make $5 million to fight Dominic Breazeale. Who else can he fight that could make some money? Maybe a rematch with Luis Ortiz, maybe a fight with the winner of Dillian White and Joseph Parker. But I don't think that fight could make Wilder the money if he fights in the States. I think this guy's got to go to England and fight to make the money. Sal, what's your thoughts?
My thoughts are this, Bill. I know next to Anthony Joshua, he has not come near the purses, the level, the pay scale that Anthony Joshua gets. And I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. I'm just saying that with his lack of promotion, with the lack of things that are happening behind him, you're right. I don't think he's going to get paid even $5 million to fight Dominic Breazeale. And when you look back at him being offered 12 or 14 or 15 million to fight Anthony Joshua, that's a great increase. But here's the variable that we got to consider. It's not saying that he doesn't deserve it. What I'm saying is this: these are the two special dancers that people are going to be willing to pay for to see get in the ring and dance. So that's where his value, and that's where he is the equal dance partner. It has nothing to do with what he's made in the past, but all eyes, most eyes, my eyes, want to see Deontay Wilder get in the ring with Anthony Joshua, and I'd be willing to pay for that. So because that's the fight in my mind that I want to see, I'd be willing to pay for it. So why shouldn't Deontay Wilder deservingly get a portion of my fee of what I'm paying to watch that fight? That's my argument. It's not that he hasn't made that purse in the past, but guess what? This is a special fight. This would be one that I'd pay to see, and I'd like to see him get half the funds of what I'm paying for to watch that fight. That's just my opinion.
What?
You
think that he deserves a 50-50?
Well, you know what? I can't say he doesn't. I can't.
What has he done to just?
What is a fight? This is a magnitude of a fight. There's going to be, what did I always say, Bill? If two fighters really want to fight each other, they're going to get in the ring and fight. Now, obviously, whatever went on, each camp is going to whine and complain about the other camp not following through. I was reading how Deontay Wilder was saying that these guys didn't want to do this, and you hear from Anthony Joshua's camp that Deontay Wilder didn't want to do that. So, like I said, if both fighters want to truly fight each other, all else would fall into place. The contracts, everything else would be signed, sealed, and they'd work out the details later.
Let me ask you this. AJ continues to fight. AJ doesn't need Deontay. AJ can continue to fight, make $20 million every time he steps into the ring, and he's willing to fight all the other guys, the other top guys. Deontay has yet to fight any top guy except for 57-year-old Luis Ortiz. That's it. That's the one guy. Listen, I know you love Deontay Wilder. I know you got Deontay. I know you got Deontay.
I think he's great.
Listen, I know you got Deontay Wilder, boxer trunks on right now. But the truth of the matter is that this guy is a one-trick pony, Sal. He's got punching power. That's it. He hasn't proven anything in the ring. He hasn't even proven anything in the bank account yet. This is a guy that's never even made $2.5 million. And he's going to demand a 50-50 fight against a Anthony Joshua? Are you kidding me? Listen, you said yourself that you thought he should have taken the $12 million. Then we both agreed, hey, listen, he held out. He made $3 million more than he made ever in the ring against any other fighter, and he still didn't sign on a dotted line, called it crackhead money. Well, if that's crackhead money, I want to see what he's going to make for his next fight, because he's not making $5 million. He's not making $5 million, Sal.
No, he is not. But I'll tell you what. Again, it's just the laws right here. To make that Anthony Joshua fight come true or become a reality, he is the other 50% of the partnership that needs to get in the ring with the other 50%. So that's why I'm saying I could see there being an equal purse because of a fight that magnitude. Like I said, it's going to take both dance partners to get in the ring, and even though it's a pie in the sky numbers that he'll never have as far as reality unless he does get in the ring with Anthony Joshua, then that's the dance partner that needs to say, hey, I want 50%, and that's the only way I'm going to make it happen. Let him stand strong. And you know what? Anthony Joshua will be eventually called out for it. So I'm not, like I said, I'm just being a realist. I see where Deontay Wilder is coming from, or his camp's coming from, because he is the other dance partner that will make that fight happen. He doesn't. We're not looking at what he's done in the past. We're not looking at what he has or who he has not fought, or this, that, and that one. But the bottom line is, it'll be the largest purse in his career. It would have been if he took the 12. It would have been if he took the 14. It would have been if he took the 15. But he is the other partner that needs to get into the dance. And that's where I could see him validating his wanting to earn 50%.
He turned down $7 million to fight Dillian White, remember? He turned. This is a guy that has been misled and has made the wrong financial decision all through his career. And if we're saying that he's making the smart decision because he's holding out to make that big, huge payday, well, eventually he's going to have to step in the ring with someone else. And time is everyone's enemy in the sport of boxing. No, I'm sorry. Deontay Wilder is a one-trick pony. He's got punching power, devastating punching power, I might add. And it definitely is the equalizer. And I'm not saying it would be an easy fight for Anthony Joshua. It won't be. But you got to fight. At the end of the day, shut the F up and fight. And all I ever hear from about when Deontay Wilder is in the mix is him talking smack. There's a guy that has made his career from talking smack. I'm going to kill somebody. I feel I got to kill somebody in the ring. You ain't killing nobody in the ring. I mean, come on. Anyway, I want to talk about the streaming real quick. This is something that is really bothering me. People are supportive of the streaming, and I am too. Okay, I like the fact that we are going to be able to get streaming and the ability to watch fights that we otherwise wouldn't have watched. That was the original plan, at least the way I saw it, with streaming capabilities. And Sal, we say it all the time. We know that we could have been doing this 5 or 6 years ago when I first planned it, but that's besides the point. But the truth of the matter is what has evolved. And Lou DiBella really opened my eyes this weekend, because next thing I know, he's advertising his show that was at Foxwoods. And I love seeing fights at Foxwoods. And we're going to have Alex Papali join us in here in about 8 minutes. And he covered the fight. He was ringside at Foxwoods. He said it was a great card. But Lou DiBella comes on and says, hey, you want to watch this fight? You want to watch this fight against an 11-0 guy fighting an 8-4-1 guy? That was the main event. Hey, all you got to do is pay $4.95. This is the mentality that streaming services did 3-4 years ago. It didn't work. It's not the money, okay? What's happened with the streaming services is that the promoter is aligning themselves with the service. They're eliminating the distributor. So if everybody doesn't know how it works, you have a fight. You have a production team that produces the fight. They film it. They have the commentators, blah, blah, blah. And they bring it to a distributor. A distributor could be HBO, Showtime, on-demand, pay-per-view, all those things. They distribute it to your TV provider, whether it's a cable television provider or if it's a satellite dish provider. They provide it, which means they get a cut. So does the provider. They get a cut. And then the consumer, us, we're paying for it, right? So at the outset, you say to yourself, well, hey, you know what? Now we can just go directly and get the streaming service, right? Good deal, right? Well, not really. Because what's happened is the promoter has aligned themselves with a specific streaming service. Right now, ESPN Plus is aligned with Top Rank. The Zone is aligned with Matchroom Sports, right? And Eddie Hearn. So what, in a sense, that they're saying is, hey, you want to watch our fighters? You want to watch our guys? You got to subscribe to this service. So if you say, well, I'm going to subscribe to ESPN, well, guess what? Now you're not going to see Anthony Joshua. Well, I'm going to subscribe to the Zone so I can see Anthony Joshua. Well, now you're not going to see the top-ranked fighter. So in a sense, you got to subscribe to all of these. And like I said earlier in the show, just those top 3 right now out of the gate, and there's going to be more. Trust me. There's going to be more. All right. Golden Boy, they already have a streaming service called Ring TV. Watch that come into play now. All right. So all of these promoters are aligning themselves with streaming services, and now us, the boxing fan, the consumer, has to decide which promoters, fighters we want to watch and shell out the money. And oh, by the way, you're still going to get the fights on Showtime. You're still going to get the fights on HBO. Those are premium channels here in the States. I love listening. Somebody was emailing me back and forth. They said, well, we get all of this stuff for free. I have Box Nation. I'm over in England. I said, well, wait a minute. You're not getting it for free. Don't you have to pay monthly for Box Nation? Oh, yeah, well, we pay monthly, but we get it for free. No, you're not getting it for free. You're paying for it. And it's the same thing. I get a friend of mine, he'll go gamble at the casino and call me up and say, hey, you want to come to the casino? I got a free room. You got a free room? You lost $5,000 playing craps. You got a free room? You didn't get a free room. I mean, come on. Right, Sal?
You're right. You're right. When you're right, Billy C., you are correctamundo. Who used to say that? Correctamundo.
I forget.
Come on, a little trivia.
Who?
Correctamundo. That was
Fonzie.
Yeah.
Hey, so what do you think though about the streaming packages? They're fleecing us some more, right?
Well, they are. They're fleecing us, and but you know what? We're the gullible fans. We're gonna watch the fights. We got to watch it, so we're gonna buy it. We're gonna do what we got to do. I mean, you know, like I said, people go along the path of least resistance, and you know, if we got to jump over a hurdle or run through the water, hey, to get there, we're going to do it for so long till it you know, becomes too troublesome. But right now, I think we'll figure it out.
Well, I just think that it's a little too much. We being boxing fans are constantly getting fleeced. You know, back in the day, you had pay-per-view in its infancy, closed circuit. Then it turned into pay-per-view. And what we used to get on pay-per-view was all the premium fights, great cards, et cetera, and nobody complained. Then what happened was it took a turn, went down. It took that other the more traveled road at the fork, you know, because you remember what Yogi Berra says: when you hit the fork in the road, take it. You know, so I mean, you know, then everyone got sick of it because every fight was a pay-per-view, it seemed, and we were paying for garbage fights. So that's why a lot of that went south. Then the cable networks took control again, specifically in the last couple of years, Showtime. And they started putting on some great matches, okay? HBO, I don't know what they're doing, but it is what it is. And then, again, the pay-per-views emerged, the great fights, the big fights. Now, all of a sudden, we got the streaming. Now, it seems like we're you know, you're getting the regular fights on the streaming networks, you know, for the most part, or the humongous fights on the streaming networks. And I got news for you. I watched the World Boxing Series on the stream yesterday, and it was terrible. It was choppy, and I have a high-end, you know, ISP service just to do this show. So it's not like I have the cheapo one. You know, I'm paying a lot of money. You know, I'm talking.
Me too. To get the other side of it. Yes.
I'm paying $1,500 a month. You know, to have the business end of an up and download system that I have. You know, but the truth of the matter is that you know, it was still terrible because it can only be delivered as fast as it can. You know, and it wasn't worth it. If I'm going to pay and I'm going to watch Anthony Joshua fight on the Zone, it better come over the way my television comes over. That's all I'm saying, Sal.
No, well, guess what? I concur with you there, pal. If I'm going to be paying for a service like that, I don't want it choppy, I don't want it dancing, I don't want it bobbing up and down, in and out. I want to have a clear view and uninterrupted view of that fight.
Yeah, well,
because I'm paying for it.
Right. Well, I mean, you know, the thing is you pay for HBO, you pay for Showtime, and generally you're getting a good product, you know, and I want the same. Now, you can make an argument and say, well, listen, you know, you're going to get the Zone, you're going to get to watch Anthony Joshua fight Povetkin, all you got to do is subscribe. It costs you $10 a month. You know, so how many months, you know, you could have that service for a year before what you're going to pay for one great fight on a cable network, and there's some truth to that. But if what I gotta give up to get that is quality, it ain't worth it. It's like a restaurant to me. You know, people have a tendency to think a good restaurant is when they give you a bucket load of food, or if everything's cheap. Hey, it's a great place. Go there. You know, you get all you can eat for $9.95. You know, and to me, no, that's not the case. I want quality. You know, I don't care about quantity when it comes to eating, and it's the same thing with boxing. I want quality. You know, I don't care about quantity, and I don't care about watching a gazillion garbage fights. I want to watch a good one, Sal.
Me too. That's what we're here for, and call the good ones, and weed out the pretenders from the contenders. That's all.
Hey, listen,
and everybody has a shot.
We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to have Alex Papali join us. He's going to give us his thoughts on the HBO card from last night. So don't go anywhere.
Billy C will be right back.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money.
It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt, the innovative technology to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C., damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
Undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And being with us right now is my man Alex Perpali. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning, C. How are you? Welcome back.
Yeah, I'm not doing that great, man. I got this tooth pulled last week, and I'm having more trouble talking than I normally do, which is pretty tough. But anyway, last night, Jaime Munguia made the first defense of his WBO junior middleweight title a successful one. What was your thoughts on the performance?
I thought that it was fun to see him again. I think that it's stunning to see that they are two junior middleweights who fight as light heavyweights. That was kind of crazy. Just to see how much poundage they had gained overnight.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean,
there goes the day before weigh-ins.
Sorry about that. It was ridiculous because it really is. It makes you wonder why the hell we have weight classes at all.
It's a false representation, Alex, of the weight class. You know what? When you have 24 hours to replenish yourself and you can gain 20 pounds, this and that, how can you be fighting for a junior middleweight title if you're going in the ring at 175? It's just or 65. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I mean that was just bizarre. I do think that it was very entertaining to hear the argument between Max and Roy Jones Jr. And I agree with what Sal said, is that, yes, for the most part, I think Roy Jones is absolutely right. This is not knitting class. This is professional prize fighting. So, yeah, that's what Mensa signed up for. However, I think we also need to keep up with science and what we learn about the sport and what we learn about head injuries. And I think some of the knockouts and like permanently brain damaging knockouts we've seen, or not even knockouts, but just fights that ended in that, have come at the end of one-sided beatings like that, where we kept letting the fight continue. When I say we, meaning collectively we, let the fight go on, thinking, well, there's a chance this guy could put something together and change the course of the fight. That's not always the case, and I think both sides, had very good points, and I think that personally, I think that that's something to consider. It would change what our sport looks like, because a fight like last night could have been stopped by round 5, 7. 5, 6, or 7, enough's enough. Because we don't quite know what's happening with that swelling. But again, like what Roy was saying, it's the corner that should be making those decisions. They weren't. But I think Max has a point too. When everyone is derelict, what happens? We just watch somebody get beaten to death? We don't want that either. So, I don't know. It was a great discussion. And I'm glad that we're having that kind of thing. I'm not sure it was appropriate for the time, because meanwhile, people are like, are you going to talk about what's happening in this fight? But I don't know. It was a good, it was worthwhile, I thought, but I thought that, in terms of a competitive card, it sure wasn't. I mean, how many rounds did the B-side fighters win last night on the HBO show?
Well, let's. I had initially asked you about the Munguia fight, and we got into. No. We got into the Machado fight, which I agree with you. I hate to say this, and every time it seems that Stacey McKinley is in the corner of someone, there's always some kind of issue with that particular fighter. Like I loved. After Mensa was dropped, his comment to him and his constructive instruction to him when he came back to the corner was, You got to watch that right hook. Yeah, no kidding. You got to watch that right hook. You know, it was his first time. It was his first time that he, well, let me just say this. You got to watch your right hook. Yeah, no kidding, Stacy. You know, find out why. What am I doing wrong? I mean, come on. This guy was out of it from that point on. And then after you find out that he just lost his daughter to malaria, right? And then you hear that he fights 30 fights without getting paid. And so, you know, here's a guy that has clearly been screwed time and time again. And then his corner is acting super tough for him. And you know what? If a corner's not going to stop a fight, just like they said during the announcing team, which I got to just say, I mean, they're almost as bad and hard to listen to as the yelling, screaming idiot on Showtime. But they were right. You know, when does the referee say, okay, if the corner's not going to save this guy, I'm gonna. You know, he was never in the fight. There was no reason for him to go the distance. If you want to show that he can go 12 rounds, big deal. Machado was faster, younger, stronger, was hitting him at will. There was no reason for that fight to go the distance. I agree with both you. You know, the best thing that Roy kept saying is, you know, the only thing that Rafael Mensa has, because his nickname was Sweet Pea, was the P. Put your right foot first, like Southpaws do. You know, but yes, it was disheartening to watch. And you know, I think a good hint when you're watching a fight and the commentators are talking about everything but the fight that's happening in front of them, I think that's a pretty good indication that the fight is not a competitive one, fellas.
Yeah, that's a good point. That if they're talking about other things, then it's like the fight in front of you is a foregone conclusion. Why are we still watching it? Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one, though, because it would change the complexion of our sport about a bit, because, you know, there's a lot of decisions that we see that are like, you know, an 8-round decision that's, you know, an 80-73 type scorecard, you know, that is basically just a lopsided beating. But I think part of what my concern was, I think when we see the effects of like some massive swelling like that, that sometimes could be an indicator. But again, I'm not a doctor, so what the hell do I know? But I think just from watching fights for as many years as I have, there have been cases where, you know, might be something a little strange in one of the corners that, you know, there is a lot more swelling than usual. Well, then let's, you know, if it's not like a, you know, a major fight that's like one of the most important, you know, like a, you know, unification type bout or something like that, a club fight, what are we continuing for? You know, I don't know. I mean, to me, boxing, the beauty of boxing is that it's a lot like chess with bruises. Well, sometimes in a chess game, you can tell a few moves before checkmate that the game's over. And sometimes, you know, maybe that's not as exciting a finish, but it's still, you know, definitive. So maybe, you know, some fights will get stopped a little early. But
well, I mean, we're looking at sports. What do they have in Little League? Mercy rule. You know, I mean, when you're looking at being down by 10 or 20 runs, they're going to call a mercy rule. But I mean, you know, it is a delicate balance, and I didn't mean to bash Max Kellerman because I do like him, and I've always been a fan of his. But you know, fellas, just being a fighter for myself, I know some of my fights would have been stopped if I didn't beg the doctor to let it continue and stuff. You know, when I was walking through a fight with 4 cuts and 130 stitches that took to close them later on, or a retina separated from a thumb, and you know, but that's neither here or there. The bottom line is, I know this example, and I guess I use the theory or the concept of a mercy rule. If a fighter is clearly getting beat, I think there has to be a careful debate, but I think an educated corner who knows their fighter well either knows that the guy is going to come up with a haymaker or something else to turn it around, or could do so, or guess what? You know what? We're going to call it a night. He just doesn't have it. And why should we let him go through the rest of the rounds when we could save it for another night? Because I think that has to be an educated corner that can help make that decision.
But too often,
when a fighter goes out there, let me tell you guys, when a true fighter goes out there, they got the blinders on. They're looking to win. They're looking to do it in the essence of their heart. They're a fighter. You don't give up. You don't see anything. So maybe you have to have other people looking out for your best.
Of course you do. You definitely do. And you know what? That's the problem with these corners, that they're too tough for their fighters. There was no reason that Mensah should have went the distance. No reason. He was still going to get paid. It couldn't have been about the money. You know, nobody is supposed to know their fighter more than the trainer. Now, granted, Stacey McKinley was his first time training a guy, but still, you know, it's always better to stop a fight too soon than stop a fight too late. And nothing for nothing, all right? But so many great fights in the history of boxing would have never, ever went the distance in today's sport of boxing.
Look at Jake LaMotta.
Forget Jake LaMotta. How about Rocky Marciano? Rocky Marciano would have never, the fights with Ezra Charles would have never. He would have never made it out of those. His nose was flopping on his face. You know, I mean, come on. Anyway, Munguia's performance, Alex.
Von Durrell would have been stopped. I mean, so many fights. You're absolutely right.
So many great classic fights that made these fighters who they were and the legends that they became were because the fights continued and they dug deep from inside to prove
that doesn't make it right, though. That doesn't make it right because we've learned.
No, I know
we've learned what the repercussions from that were, Sal. We learned it. All you have to do is look at Muhammad Ali. Look at Joe Frazier. Then I'll never forget when I met Joe Frazier for the first time. Okay, I asked him for an autograph. At that time, I was, still really enjoyed getting autographs from these guys. And this was in the 80s, okay? This was in the 80s. And Joe Frazier had a hard time signing his name. This was in the 80s, all right? I mean, he hadn't even been out as long. So, I mean, the repercussions from these fighters, that the battles that they're in, especially those style fighters, very far and few in between, walk away unscathed. Sal, you know what? I hate to say it, Sal, but your style fighting, you're an exception to the rule, my friend.
I am.
Okay,
I've been blessed by God and prayed. But guess what? I also got to thank that doctor every day, because I do, and I wish I could remember who he was or his name. No,
he knows who he was.
After my fight in Tennessee, when he said, "Hey, kid, you want to have a life? You want to go on after? You want to be champion of other things? You want to live and play with your grandchildren one day? Do yourself a favor. I'm on the medical board of Muhammad Ali. I think his name was Dr. Beamer, and get out of the ring, stop boxing by the time you're 28." And he told me the laws of physics. Why? Because your skull, and I say this, I hate to be redundant, says your skull with your brain, encasing your brain, it has fluid in it. And by some strange phenomenon, this fluid dissipates at the age of 28 or so, and it's no longer the cushion and the pillow of when you get that trauma to the head that absorbs that trauma or that absorbs that blow. So, in other words, you're more likely to have scarring on the brain and damage after the age of 28 because of the lack of the fluid and the brain bouncing off the structure of the skull, versus having the fluid in there to work as an. I analogize it to the egg albumin with the yolk. You shake an egg, the albumin's protecting the yolk not to crack open. You take all that albumin out, you shake the yolk, it's going to crack. So it's a rough analogy, but I think people will understand that. And I praise that doctor, and I thank God every day because I prayed. I prayed before every fight, never to have permanent damage done to my opponent or myself. And who knows? Maybe those prayers have been answered, and I'm very grateful. And I probably wouldn't trade it in to have the experience I've had in my life to be forfeited by a couple more years of fighting.
I want to ask Alex one more time, 3 strikes, man. What was your assessment of Jaime Munguia's performance last night with his first defense of his WBO junior middleweight title?
I thought he looked good. I thought he definitely battered Beefy Smith all over the ring. He did not achieve, I think, what he wanted in that he did not score a flashier victory over Smith than Canelo did. At least that's sure what HBO made it sound like he wanted.
Sure did.
And HBO, as usual, I think we had to suffer through HBO's desire to make a star rather than just cover a fight, because you had to listen to a lot of them hyping Munguia before we actually saw him do anything. And I do agree. I agreed with Max Kellerman that I thought the first 3 rounds did go to Smith. I disagreed with Harold Letterman.
I gave the first 2 rounds to Smith. Well, I gave the second round actually a draw, but I gave the first round to Smith, the second round a draw, and I think I gave the third. But I'll tell you what, I think Munguia woke up and said, put it in different gear in around the 5th and 6th.
Yeah, I mean, I think, he's a skilled kid, and I think the thing that's interesting about him, just the size, of course, is going to be a big plus for him, the youth, but the way he uses his arms to catch punches as well as to sort of hook you and stuff like that, just in sort of the stuff when he's not actually throwing punches, just seems very clever. He's going to be definitely someone to watch at middleweight, I think. I don't know. I think, we got to wait and see what happens with Canelo Golovkin, but I think people should be excited that you got a young guy like Munguia who is big and strong and brave.
Well, the thing is with Munguia is that if he doesn't improve, and where he needs to improve, like Sal and I mentioned earlier in the show, is if he can't tighten up his defense. I mean, Smith was hitting him at will. The only reason why he didn't continue is because he was hitting back, and Smith had to cover up, and it was hard for him to throw punches when he was trying to protect his midsection. But the truth of the matter is Munguia has no defense, and he's awfully slow. To tell you the truth, Alex, he's pretty slow. And when you get to that upper echelon of fighters, he's going to have trouble. And, he's only going to be 21 for, the rest of this year, and the older he gets, hey, nothing gets by me, guys. He's only going to be 21 for 1 year. But the truth of the matter is nothing, he's got to improve. Otherwise, him being able to it goes back to my favorite boxing essay, A Piece of Steak, and it's a story of youth versus age. And, youth can certainly cover up a lot of deficiencies in your game, but you only have youth so much. You gain experience, but then you lose the youth, and you can't carry out what you learned from those experiences. So he's got to develop it. I don't know if he can get faster hands, but he certainly can get better defense, and that's got to be something he's got to work on, in my opinion, guys.
That's one of the things that I think is going to be a little difficult for him, especially with Canelo, is Canelo's got crazy fast reflexes, and Munguia seems a little bit slow in, like you said, getting his hands to the target and stuff like that. But the plus is that he's so big, and he's got that ability, like a Godzilla, to absorb punishment. So it might balance out. So we'll have to see.
I wonder if Canelo first got the idea of the tainted beef after he fought Beefy Smith.
I was wondering if there was a tainted Beefy.
Beefy Smith.
Well, we'll see what happens next. He is a junior middleweight. There is a lot of talk that he really is a middleweight, and he, as long as he can make the 154-pound limit, he's going to definitely be a tough out. I'd like to see him against one of the twins. The other, he's another big junior middleweight. The Charlo. The other one, Charlo moved up. One Charlo moved up.
Charlo beat him.
Yeah, what is Charlo? I mean, the truth of the matter is, but what is Charlo? I mean, the truth of the matter is, the Charlo brothers, they've always been the monsters against smaller guys. Have they ever shown us the ability? The funny thing is everyone can look great against an opponent that shouldn't be in the ring with them. How good is Machado when we saw him fight Mensah? I mean, you can't put a guy on a pedestal until he fights someone that's equal with their own a skill set, and then they put on a performance like that. Then he gets put on a pedestal, and they become an elite fighter. But listen, Alex, we're running out of time. I wanted to ask you, you heard my perception of the streaming and the way it's going. It seems to me that the promoter is aligning themselves with a specific streaming service, and we as a boxing fan / consumer have to make the decision. Are we going to jump in with all these promoters and sign up for all these different streaming companies on a monthly basis to watch the fights, or are we going to be forced into choosing sides, just like the promoters and the sanctioning bodies, really, and the networks? I mean, everybody's choosing a side. In a nutshell, they're all trying to be like Dana White's UFC. They're all trying to have a league of their own. Watch my fighters on my streaming network. We'll fight for our titles, etc., etc. What's your thoughts on the way this is unfolding to us?
Agree with you to an extent in that it is disheartening to see that everybody's hands out like that, and that we're being nickel and dime to death. But that's kind of true in every aspect of modern life. So I guess it doesn't really surprise me that it's come to boxing, especially after the failure of the PBC's desire to give boxing away for free. That just did not work. Now maybe that was because of the way they did it, because I like free boxing. I didn't realize DeBella's stream cost money. I was there, so I didn't try to get it, but I did go because when I got home last night and I was looking over my notes, I wanted to see if I could catch a replay of one of the rounds, and then I realized you had to go in and register. I didn't see that it charged you, but
$4.95. $4.95.
Yeah, see, that's if the prices stay under $5. As much as, it's unfortunate and it's another obnoxious little task in modern life that you have to go through to do what you want to do, and that's watch boxing. But that's not as horrible as an $80 pay-per-view. Last night I think it's worth it in the sense that if these are fighters that mean something to you, $5 is worth shelling out if you can't get there. But you're right. It would be nice if they were free. But last night you would have seen a pretty good card. Eric Botcher was the matchmaker, and there were some pretty decent fights on that Broadway boxing show. One of them was Hersheybeck Norma Tov versus Alexis Gaitn. Norma Tov is a guy, an Uzbek. He was a tremendous amateur. It's very obvious in Uzbekistan. He fights out of Brooklyn, New York now. He is now 7-0 with 3 KOs. He scored a freaky, scary last round knockout of Alexis Gaitn, who is a brave, tough fighter who was also undefeated at the time. He picked up his first loss last night, and it was one of those fights where Gaitn caught Norma Tov in the first round and seemed to stun him. So for the rest of the fight, you were kind of waiting. Even though Norma Tov was outboxing him, Gaitn was right there in every round. He got cut. His corner did a great job stopping the bleeding, and it was pretty dramatic going into that last round. You thought, well, Gaitn needs a really good round here, and he went in, and it was a beautiful moment where Norma Tov, who's a southpaw, fired a left hook that sailed right over Gaitn's head, and Gaitn came up right at that moment to fire his own shot. But Norma Tov, like a good fighter, doesn't always put, if you're going to throw a shot, put one behind it, follow up. And he, with the follow-up right hook, wow, he knocked Gaitn out. It was a scary, one of the most freakiest knockouts I've seen in person.
See, now here's the thing. And we're talking about the streams, okay? Lou DiBella charges $4.95. And Alex, you said, well, if you can't make it, it's worth it to pay $4.95. Okay, great. But here's the point. Those kinds of fights, and yes, you were treated to a good card, and I don't care who the matchmaker was, all right? You were treated to a good card, but at the end of the day, it was a club show, all right? Those club shows, if promoters weren't as greedy as they are, they would start to promote their fighters and make those fighters available, just like you witnessed ringside a great fight, and all the rest of the people that were sitting at Foxwoods witnessed a great fight ringside. All those people that paid for a ticket, okay? Now, the way you get your fighter's name out there is you want as many sets of eyes as you possibly can see while they're fighting at this stage of the game. The guy's 11-0, the main event, all right? You want as many sets of eyes. And by charging $4.95, whether it's $4.95 or $2.95, people aren't going to say, oh, it's $6.95, I ain't paying $6, but I'll spend $3. No, that's not the case. It's not the case. What they need to do is give those fights for free. Get their guy, create some value, and then when it comes time to negotiate, something that, Deontay Wilder's trying to do on a much larger scale but doesn't have the fan base. Maybe if more people knew who he was earlier on in his career, he would have a leg to stand on. That's how you promote, boys and girls. These guys are greedy. I'll bet you donuts to dollars that Lou DiBella didn't get as many views on that show as people were there watching it. I would bet anybody that was the case, okay? So, it's not just the availability. My point with streaming is on a bigger scale with big promoters, Eddie Hearn's Matchroom Sport, Top Rank on ESPN+, Golden Boy on Ring TV, etc., etc. Those fights, you're going to be forced to buy those services to watch those fighters. End of story. And I don't think it's fair to fleece the boxing consumer time and time again. And that's exactly what's happening. And if we have to start paying for club shows just to watch them because they're not available anywhere else, that's just as ridiculous, guys. That's my point.
Good point.
I mean,
no, I think you definitely have a good.
That's all I'm saying. Anyway,
I think that if
you're breaking up all of a sudden, Alex. I guess we lost them. But, all right. Well, listen, we're going to take a short break here anyway. We're having some trouble with Alex's connection. And when we come back, I got some final thoughts on some fights for next week. So don't go anywhere.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money.
It's absolutely worth it. If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
Similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. He may not have an Excellence in Broadcasting award, but the night's still young.
And he's got martinis.
So you never know what may be by morning. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Now back to Billy C.
Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And I just want to thank my man Alex Papali for giving us his thoughts and opinions. We lost him real quick. And that's one thing that we are noticing by doing the show on Sunday mornings, is that the some of the bandwidth is getting choked out. But in any event, next weekend we got a couple of big fights. And although we told everyone we were going to be returning August 4th, I lied. We'll be returning next Sunday because there's a big couple of fights that I'm going to want to be talking about. First and foremost, next week we got a real heavyweight fight between two real heavyweights that are actually fighting each other. Something Baby Miller has yet to do, and honestly, something that Wilder has really only done once, and that was his fight against Luis Ortiz. Dillian Whyte, who's 23-1 with 17 knockouts, he's currently ranked at number 8 in the world by the computer, is facing former world heavyweight champion Joseph Parker, who's 24-1, his only loss coming at the hands of Anthony Joshua. With 18 knockouts, he's currently ranked at number 9. These two guys are getting in the ring. Possibly the winner would get a shot at Anthony Joshua should Deontay Wilder fail to fight him in April. What's your thoughts on this particular fight, Sal?
I think it's going to be a good competitive fight, and I'm looking forward to it, and definitely would love to talk about it afterwards. So it should be a good fight. Should be a pretty good fight. What do you think?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, Joseph Parker was the first fighter to ever go the distance with Anthony Joshua.
Correct.
So we know that he's got some boxing ability. He fought cautiously and has said, although he's not a trash talker, he has said that Dillian Whyte is going to meet a more vicious version of Joseph Parker. Now, Joseph Parker is a younger fighter. He's in his early 20s. Dillian Whyte really was a guy that I think has shown. I think his best fight was his last one. So I love the fight. I love the fact that these two guys are fighting each other. It's something that I've been complaining about in the sport of boxing for a long time, that fighters don't climb the ladder of contention to earn their shot at a world title. Today, and Jarrell Baby Miller, not that he's my whipping boy today, but Jarrell Baby Miller seems to be the type of fighter who all he has done is win, but he hasn't beaten anybody of note. And the truth of the matter is that how does a guy get a ranking as high as he has in those sanctioning bodies without beating a guy that was ranked ahead of him? I just don't understand it. He turned down a fight with Kubrat Pulev. Didn't want to go to Bulgaria. But the truth of the matter was, it was an elimination fight, and the fight went to purse bid, and the promoter that won it wanted to put it in Bulgaria because he could have made the most money for both of the fighters. Both Pulov and Baby Miller could have made career-high paydays by fighting in Bulgaria. Baby Miller decided not to. Instead, he decided to show up and talk smack at Anthony Joshua versus Alexander Povetkin press conference. So I just don't understand how the powers that be, I give how they let this happen, but I give Joseph Parker and Dillian Whyte all the credit in the world for stepping in the ring against each other. That fight will be taking place next weekend, and when we come back a week from today, that'll be one of the fights that we'll be talking about. The other fight would be a lightweight unification fight between Mikey Garcia and Robert Easter Jr. This is an interesting fight, Sal.
Yes,
Mikey Garcia had just moved up in weight at the junior welterweight title and won a title that he gave up to maintain his lightweight status. And he's fighting Robert Easter Jr. Now, Mikey Garcia, he's 30 years old, 38-0 with 30 knockouts. Love Mikey Garcia. I love this kid. I love the fact that, he wins fights because he does things the old-fashioned way. Sal, if you hit him 3 times, he's going to hit you back 6 or 7. That's how you win decisions. We both love him. Now, Robert Easter Jr., he's an undefeated fighter as well, 21-0 with 14 knockouts, a title holder as well. But I just don't think he's of the same class as Garcia. However, Sal, even though both of these guys are world title holders, and even though they are both, fighting each other, unifying a title, check this out. The computer ranks Mikey Garcia at number 2 in the world at lightweight, and ranks Robert Easter Jr. at number 3. So here we're looking at 2 fights where the guys are actually ranked by the computer right next to each other. You can't ask for a more competitive fight than that, right?
No, that's the way it should be. And so we're definitely, we have to look forward to that one, because that's going to be a good competitive fight.
Here's the best part, and I don't know if you caught this. I know we've been off for a little bit, but Mikey Garcia has called out Errol Spence Jr.
No way.
And has said that he's 100% serious about fighting Errol Spence Jr. at welterweight. And he knows that Errol Spence Jr. will be bigger than him on fight night. Because Mikey Garcia actually said that he walks around at a comfortable weight of between 148 and 152 pounds on a normal basis. Yes, he can drop down to 135 for fight night and fight at lightweight like he's going to next weekend. But he feels that he can easily fight comfortable at the 147-pound weight limit. He also knows that Errol Spence Jr. will be substantially bigger than him on fight night if this fight can be made. I think what this fight shows us, Sal, is that Mikey Garcia is a throwback fighter. This is a guy that doesn't care about weight classes. He goes up and down in weight like, we put on and off our shoes. And the guy is successful at it. Remember, he's 38-0. He has never been beaten. To call out a guy like Errol Spence Jr., who many regard as the best welterweight in the world today, is nothing less than impressive, in my opinion. I hope Mikey Garcia takes care of business against Robert Easter Jr. No disrespect to Easter Jr., but I would love to see Mikey Garcia fight Errol Spence Jr., and I would love to see how that fight turns out. As much as I think Errol Spence Jr. is the class act, or definitely up in the top 2 of the welterweight division, I think I have a lot of faith in Mikey Garcia. I've seen this guy shock me time and time again, and I kind of really like that fight. What do you think?
I do like that fight. I do, but as you were describing it, all I could see, and there's probably no better fan of Roberto Duran than I. And but I almost see like the trilogy. I would see Mikey Garcia as the Duran, and I would see Spence as the Leonard. Not that they are each of that equal, but because those were superstars. But I could see that type of fight where it could be an ebb and flow. And as we knew, the surprise and the element of surprise, Duran caught Leonard the first time around. But after that, Leonard had his number. I could almost see that fight going the distance, but I could also see Spence probably getting a good decision after that fight. But it would be a great fight, and I'm not one to call it right now because I got to look into it a little more.
Oh no! Hey, listen, we got to see how
Mikey. Great fight, phenomenal fight.
Well,
it's great.
I just love the fact that Mikey Garcia seems to be a dying breed and a throwback because he challenges himself. And Mikey Garcia said when he held out and broke away from his promotional contract, he said that he wants to fight the best, most challenging fights. That he wants to challenge himself, and so far. He's doing it, Sal. I mean, listen, to go from lightweight to junior welter back to lightweight. I mean, the only guy that kind of did that successfully, not in those weight classes. But remember, Kell Brook went from welterweight to middleweight and then went back down. Now he's campaigning at junior middle, but still, it's impressive to see a fighter go up in weight and then go back down. So I don't know, man. I'm excited to see if the Mikey Garcia and Errol Spence Jr. fight gets made. Errol Spence Jr. does want to fight a unification fight, with a Terrence Crawford. But I think a fight in between. Terrence Crawford himself said we need to marinate this fight more, which I don't agree with. But a fight in between with Mikey Garcia would be really good. And the big question is, whatever happened to Keith Thurman? He's still MIA. Keith Thurman is
who?
Yeah, exactly. He's really let the sport down. And another guy that I think is making some really poor business decisions. Him and Deontay Wilder passing up money. It's almost like the LaVar Bell, who's a running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers, was offered a $70 million deal and said no. He's a running back. Said no. And he's going to play for the Steelers for the last year, I guess, as a franchise tag. I think he's making less than $15 million, 14.5 or something for this year. It was a stupid business move because a contract. Now, whether or not I don't know the whole ins and outs of the contract, what was guaranteed, etc. But the bottom line is he felt he could get a better, more lucrative deal after this year. And at that particular position in football, NFL football, running back, you're one knee injury away from your career just being over. I mean, just ask Terrell Davis how it worked out for him, But sometimes these guys make some really stupid financial decisions, Sal. And Keith Thurman is one in the welterweight division, and I'm standing strong, believing that Deontay is making some very poor business decisions financially. If it all works out that the kid ends up with a 50-50 deal against Joshua, then, I'll be looking like a fool. But I doubt it very much.
Well, and what you just said, Bill, is a valid truism. I mean, here we are. We see he would have gotten the shorter end of the stick, but, like I was saying earlier, not that the past is going to be reflective of what he deserves to earn, but the bottom line is he is 50% of that partner that needs to get into the dance studio. And if that's going to be the deciding factor of getting these two guys in the ring, well, who are we to say, wow, the guy held out, now he's getting 50%. Yeah, we would love to see the fight this year. But like I said, it's all just smoke and mirrors right now. What we have to see is the stuff and not the fluff. So that'll be wait to be seen, and then we'll comment about it.
Well, listen, boys and girls, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I got what? Go ahead, Sal. What?
Oh, thank you. I just raised my hand.
Yeah,
I feel like
I can't read. I can't read what your note said. But anyway, go ahead. What? Hurry up.
All right, thank you. I just want to thank this great community I live in, the Golden Isles. We have. I'm very excited, Bill. We have tonight. I did a movie last year called Christmas on the Coast, and we have a very exciting event occurring tomorrow night in our little St. Simon's Island movie theater. And tonight we have the producer of that movie, Gary Wheeler, and his production, the INSP Network, coming to the restaurant. I believe that's going to be also Jason White, the director, and a couple of other people. And Bonnie Bedelia was in the movie. A couple of other stars were in the movie. And I was honored by actually having a role in the movie and some speaking lines, and which gave me the opportunity to have my SAG, my Screen Actors Guild card, which I am now part of. And but they're coming to the restaurant tonight, and tomorrow night at the St. Simon's Island Movie Theater, we're going to have a one-night, one-show preview of the movie Christmas on the Coast. So we're all excited, and the movie's already sold out. So we're all excited about that. That's going to happen tomorrow night at 7 p.m. at the Golden Isles Movie Theater. I just want to say a big thank you and shout-out to the community that answered with the ticket sales going through the roof. So the Golden Isles does answer, and thank you guys. I just want to mention that.
Hey, I want to thank you for the invite, for coming with you. But
I did. I sent you an invitation.
Yeah. Oh, geez. I guess I didn't get it. No,
I got an extra ticket.
Yeah, I
got an extra ticket.
Yeah, I tell you.
It's sold out, but I bought extra tickets.
It's probably in the mail. I know. That damn post office. But anyway, hey, listen, boys and girls, make sure you tune in next Sunday, next week, same bat time, same bat channel. We will be here, and we want you to join us too. And what would be really nice is a couple of super chats next week. You know what I mean? But listen, all in all, tune in next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.